There you go.
Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This morning, you'll have to excuse me if I turn to the side because my table is on the side. I don't have a table in front of me for all my notes, but we'll do our best. We're going to discuss a very interesting shaila that comes up often enough, and it's based on the following Gemara. It's Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Pei Hey, the beginning of the parak, Elohim Hanechnokin. These are the following averos for which the punishment is of Misa is chenek. And the first line of that Mishnah is Hamake Aviv V'imo. Someone who hits his mother or his father. And what does hitting mean? So there's an earlier Mishnah which says as follows: Hamake Aviv V'imo Eino Chayev Ad Sheyasa Behem Chabura. The only time that you're chayev for make of the imo is if you hit them in a way which causes a wound. In other words, it draws blood. Okay, so Gemara has the following shaila. Iboyeluhu ben maho shiyakiz dam la'oviv. Is the son allowed to do bloodletting, which in the times of the Gemara was a very common therapeutic approach? Is the son allowed to do it for his father? Now, if he does it for his father, he's going to be drawing blood from his father, which the Chora you would think would be awesome. So Rav Masa Omar, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Just like you should do for your fellow man that which you would want to have done for yourself. So just like you would want to have someone come and do bloodletting if it was something that you needed. Similarly, if your father wants you to do it, then you should be able to do it. Rav Dibi Bar Chinna Amar, Rav Dimi Bar Chinna says, Make Adam Umake Behema. There's a hekesh, the parsha of causing an injury to another person, and the prohibition of your animal causing damage to someone's animal are written in juxtaposition. Ma maka behema l'refuah pata. Just like if you hit, in other words, you make a wound to a behema, but it's done for the purposes of refuah, it is mutter. So similarly, af maka adam l'refuah is pata. Similarly, if you do it for purposes of refuah, then it should be it's mutter. So both Rav Masna and Rav Dimi Bar Chinna from different sources, but both of them paskin, if you will, that if you're doing it in order to for refuah to your father or to your mother, then it would be mutter. But now the Gemara gives to Maisalach. Rav loy shavik librei lemishkal leisilua. Rav did not allow his son to take out a thorn, because in the process of doing so, he was concerned he might cause a chabura, a wound, and draw blood. Mar berei de Ravina lo shavik librei lemiftach le kafsa. Dilma chavale. He didn't allow Mar berei Ravina didn't allow his son to lance a boil. And in both of the cases, the reason is Dilma Chavikle, Vahavile Shigagas Isa. And he'll be doing it b'shogeg, but he'll be inadvertently by allowing his son to do this, his son may wind up doing something, obviously unintentionally, may wind up causing the chabur. So what is pshat in the Gemara? The Gemara said you're allowed to do this for refuah, you're allowed to draw blood from your father. Then right away, the Gemara gives two Maisalach where Rav and Mar berei Ravina didn't allow their children to do it out of concern that they would draw blood. So is the Gemara contradicting or going away from the psak that Rav Masa and Rav Dimi Bar Chinna said? Or is this a separate case? So the Gemara, the halacha, is brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. We'll go through some of the sources. The Rambam back up a second, could be that the reason why Rav and Marber Ravina didn't allow their children to do the procedure was because there was someone else available. Perhaps that's the reason. There was someone else available who could do it. In other words, if there's nobody else, then perhaps you would allow the son to do it. But if there is someone else who can do it, then why put the son in that position where he's going to possibly cause a chabura to his father? And that's why the Rambam paskins in Hilchas Mamrim Perek Hey, Hamakiz dam la'oviv, o shahoyer rofe, v'chotach lo basar, o aver, is potter. Someone who's doing bloodletting on his father, or he's a doctor and he has to, lo aleinu, amputate a limb, or remove some flesh, and obviously he's going to cause bleeding. Afal pishu potter, even though he's potter for doing it, because it's for refuah, lechatchila lo yaseh. Initially, he should try not to do it. Or another example would be olahotzi silon mibasa oviv, to take a thorn out of his father's flesh, his father or his mother. Lo yotzi, he shouldn't do it. Shema yaseh chabura, maybe he's going to make a wound. When are we say that this halacha applies? Kishiyesham acher lasos, when there's someone else available who can do it. Aval im ein sham mishi yaseh elahu, if there's no one else who can do it except for the son, harei mitztarfin, v'harei mitztarin, and the father is in pain and he needs to be relieved of his pain. Harei ze makiz v'choiseh tufi mashi yeshihu lasos. Then he's allowed to be makiz dam, to do the bloodletting or to do whatever cutting, amputation that he needs to do, to the extent that the parent allows him to do it.
Rabbi Liefer,
yes.
What if they're like a dentist? The father prefers to go to the son or the daughter.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. Similarly, the Kesef Mishnah basically says the same halacha. The Kesef Mishnah says as follows. I'm just quoting from one portion of the Kesef Mishnah. Since the heter of doing something the refuah for a parent, even though it means drawing blood, we learn out from this hekesh to makeh behema. Vadai poter umuter kama. Same way it's muter l'chatchila to do it for the behema. Similarly, it's muter l'chatchila to do it for a parent. Since they were able to find someone else who would do the refuah, they didn't have to do it themselves. They didn't want to allow their children to do it. The concern was maybe they would do something a little bit more than was necessary. Then already you're getting onto a little bit of shaky ground, and therefore they didn't allow them. But really, if you know that they're going to do only exactly what's necessary, then you allow it. Similarly, the Shulchan Aruch in Yoredeya paskins the same way.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yes.
This is like, just a wild thought, but could this in any way be a basis why I believe in the medical profession, like you can't do surgery on your own member of a family because, you're emotionally involved?
Right.
So I'm just wondering if it's kashur in any way. You can't do a medical procedure on a parent, and because granted, the reason is because it could draw blood, but that's why I'm saying maybe this is too much of a stretch, where in this day and age, you hear a lot that unless there's no, let's say, another surgeon as capable, then that person should not do surgery on an immediate family member. So I was just trying to draw a connection.
I don't know. It's certainly what we just read. The concern mishum the dilma havi chavibu hu tvei mimashu kederech harafua, that he's going to do more than necessary. So perhaps that would come into play if he's emotionally involved and he's nervous because it's not just a job, it's his father.
Right.
So in other words, it comes into play in the sense that he may wind up doing something a little bit more that is necessary to be extra careful when that's not really required, and in which case he's drawing blood unnecessarily. Okay, that's certainly not the concern of the medical profession. The concern is simply he's not going to do his job properly. Okay, the Aruch HaShulchan quotes this halacha, but he adds one other criterion which could make a difference in terms of the basis for permitting the son to do the procedure on the father. Again, I'll read the Aruch HaShulchan. Hamekes dam le'oviv, o shehoya rofe v'chotach lo basar o aver, he's potter, sharei l'refuhu. He's doing it l'refuah. Mikol mokom, af al pi shehu potter, l'chadchila lo yaseh. Initially, he should try to avoid doing it himself, even if it's only lahotzi silon mibasa, just to take a simple procedure like taking out a splinter. Lo yotzi shema yasa chabur. He shouldn't do it lest he make a chabur. B'amed dvar mamurim k'shiyesham achel lasos, when there's someone else who can do it. Aval eim sham mi sheyase elahu, if there's no one else available other than himself. Im he mitztarim, his parents are in pain. Harei ze makis v'chote k'fi sheyitno l'reshus lasos. V'chein imhu, this last line is very important. V'chein imhu ose betov yoser me'acher v'oviv chofetz bo yochel lasos. It doesn't necessarily mean only in the case where there is someone else, where there's nobody else available. That's when he's allowed to do it. Even if there is someone else available who could do the procedure, but he's more proficient. The son is a world-class physician compared to the Dr. Joe next door, and the father prefers that the son should do it. So it becomes like there is nobody else of equal capability, of equal quality to do it, and therefore the son would be allowed to do it even though there are other doctors available. The Minchas Chinuch has a fascinating additional stipulation, which I don't believe anybody paskins like, but the Minchas Chinuch says as follows. He's talking about both mitzvahs of the prohibition of cursing your father, your parents, and the prohibition of causing a chabura. And he deals with the two of them together. So Minchas Chinuch says as follows: Avol betchila shenosein reshus lekalel ein kan avera klal v'chein legabe maka. In other words, Minchas Chinuch is telling a big chiddush that if the father gives him permission, then it's mutter. The father basically is moichel on any chabur that he might do, then he's allowed to do it. Again, we don't pass him like this, but it is a tzad to include. So the question that came up, a practical shaila, someone had to have regular injections done. And it meant having a nurse come to the house and do the injections. And the parent wanted their daughter, who was a nurse, to be able to come and do the injections. Is that permitted or not? So the question came to the Gesher HaChaim. Gesher HaChaim in Chelek Beis, Gesher HaChaim is a 3-volume set. In Chelek Beis of Gesher HaChaim, in the first siman, he has a long discussion of this whole question of children doing something on behalf for the parents. And the question of this particular shaila that came to him about the daughter giving injections, he was inclined to be matir, and he had several reasons for doing that. Number one, an injection goes into the muscle and doesn't necessarily draw blood. And even if it does, it's not a question of doing more than is necessary. That's number one. Number two, is also a bit of a chiddush. He says the fact that the son or the daughter is willing to do the work for nothing. I mean, there's a big financial saving in having the child come and do it for the parent, as opposed to paying for an outside nursing service to have someone come in and do it. So the fact that the son is willing to do it, son or daughter is willing to do it for free, that makes it as if there's no one else available. It puts it into the category of no one else available. So Rav Tokaczynski, the author of the Gesher HaChaim, discussed his svara with Rav Herzog, Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and although all three of them had reservations about whether you could be mata the child to do the injections, ultimately they all agreed. So just a summary of the Gesher HaChaim Psak. Number one, injections doesn't necessarily involve taking out blood. Number two, the son does it for free, and therefore it's as if there's no one else available. And the third, if the father bedafka wants the son to do it, then according to the Minchas Chinuch, then that's permitted, that he is Michael. And you can also, I guess you're adding in the tzad of the Minchas Chinuch, that if the father agrees, if the father wants him, then that's already considered like there's no one else available. In general, most of the poskim hold that the iser of removing blood from his father for refuah, to avoid doing it, is only a chumrah. And therefore, in this case, where they want the son to do it, they agreed with the psak that it would be mutter. That's it for today.
Kashiko.
Yes, Shmuel, thank you so much for joining us for today.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day,
Thank you,
everybody.
Shmuel. Have a good day.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Mendy,
Yeah.
do you want me to get a return authorization for that mic?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
no problem. Bye.
I was going to ask him to do that.